Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for another true crime video yet again, and today we will be talking about an ongoing case that is not only causing an outrage in India but globally as well. Today we will be diving into the case of Dr. Moumita Debnath. First and foremost, I would like to apologize in advance if I say or pronounce any of these names incorrectly. I may have an Indian surname myself, however, I was born and raised here in the Philippines. Also, for the most part of this video, I will be looking this way because this is where my notes are, and I don't really have the time to memorize my script, memorize all the details to this case because I just want to put this out there as soon as possible. Having that said, let's go ahead and dive into this case. Dr. Momita Debnath was a 31-year-old resident doctor who worked at the RG Kar Hospital in Kolkata, West Bengal, in India. She was on her second year of residency and was said to be very well liked by her colleagues. She was said to have strong beliefs and was very passionate about helping people. And this is probably one of the reasons as to why millions of people are now seeking justice for her. However, this could also be the reason why this happened in the first place. Just this August 8th, Dr. Momita arrived in her workplace, which is a state run medical facility and college. Now, this hospital, the RG Car Hospital, has always said to have been understaffed, and because of this, interns as well as resident doctors have to make up for it by working extremely long hours. That day, Dr. Momita arrived ready for her 36-hour shift as an on call doctor. Now, she was allowed to take short breaks as long as she wasn't needed, and that is exactly what she did after having dinner with some of her colleagues at 2 a.m. An hour later, she decided to look for a spot to rest for a bit before finishing the remainder of her 36-hour shift. And on the third floor, she found what seems to be a quiet spot at one of the seminar rooms. And it was supposed to be a normal, regular night. However, that would all change in the morning when screams were heard. These screams were from medical students who arrived at the third floor seminar hall for class only to find the dead body of Dr. Momita Debnath. The doctor's parents were then contacted by school authorities saying that she was not doing well. And of course, her parents found this extremely strange. What do you mean she's not doing well? They asked, and all this person on the other end of the line said was, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. Now, finding this extremely odd, Dr. Momita's parents rushed to the hospital. However, before they could even reach their destination, they yet again received another call, and this time they were told that their only child had taken her own life. They arrived at the hospital but was prohibited from seeing their daughter's body for hours. And right from the beginning, they just knew that she wouldn't take her own life. They knew right away that something was clearly off and something was being kept from them. And those who have seen the crime scene as well as Dr. Momita's body all agree with this. This couldn't have been a She was said to have been found with her legs pulled up from the side, basically contorted, and this was an impossible position, not unless her pelvic bone was broken. Dr. Momita Debnath was positioned and posed in such a demeaning manner, as if this was another way to disrespect her for one last time. When her body was discovered, it was clear as day that this woman did not end her own life. She was clearly tortured and murdered. Now, I will be sharing with you the extent of her injuries. I will be muting out some of the words as I still want this video to be advertiser friendly because if not, it will not be suggested to people and the algorithm is not going to push this content out there. I will, however, be providing a list on the screen. She was found with blood oozing out of her eyes, mouth, and private parts. She had wounds, bruises, and lacerations all over her head and body. There were clear bite marks and scratch marks on her face and neck. She had fractured bones, contorted legs, and mutilated genitals. There are also signs that her head and back had been on. and she was struck with so much force that her thyroid cartilage broke. Self defense wounds were also found, indicating that she tried to fight back and get away from her attacker. Some of her injuries also indicate that her mouth and nose had been clamped shut and that her face was held against a wall so that she could not scream and to also prevent her from fighting back any further. Now, this was said to have been done with so much force that her eyeglasses shattered and the shards of glass pierced her eyes. But out of all of these extensive injuries, her cause of death was ultimately determined to be manual strangulation associated with smut. And now that the public knows what happened and what her actual cause of death was, two questions remain unanswered. Who did this? And most importantly, why? A piece of evidence, some Bluetooth earphones, was also found in the seminar room close to Dr. Momita's body, and this would be key to finding the first culprit. Now, there were no CCTVs in the seminar hall itself. However, by checking the footages obtained from the entrance of that building, Kolkata police were able to narrow down who went in and out of that particular building during those harrowing hours. These people were all brought in for questioning by the Kolkata police, and of course, no one admitted to doing the crime. Each and every one of these persons of interest denied having anything to do with Dr. Momita's demise. So the police asked all of them to bring out their phones to see who owned the earphones from the crime scene. And it connects via Bluetooth to one man's phone. This man is Sanjay Roy, a civic volunteer assigned by the police to work at the RG Car Hospital. He worked there as a guide to help patients get to where they needed to be. And to give you a bit of a background, Sanjay Roy is an ex professional boxer who has been married four times. Now, the first three wives divorced him due to domestic abuse, all three of them, while his fourth wife died of cancer. And he has since been living in a police slash government issued dorm or hostel near the hospital. So this evidently shows that this man has a history of hurting and disrespecting women. Based on the CCTV footage, Sanjay Roy was seen entering the building during the wee hours of the night with his Bluetooth earphones hanging around his neck. He was then seen 40 minutes later leaving or exiting the same building or wing of that hospital, now without his earphones because, of course, he left them at the crime scene. Now, as soon as these earphones connected to his phone via Bluetooth, Sanjay Roy was immediately arrested, and the Kolkata police was quick to announce that they had caught the perpetrator. The way they made this announcement seemed like they were treating this as a solved case already. Like, okay, we got him, case closed. And people are not happy with this. Why? Because due to the extent of what was done to Dr. Momita and Sanjay Roy being in that specific part of the hospital for under an hour, it was obviously impossible that he had acted alone. So, where are the others? And most importantly, who are they? It was also said that 150 grams of bodily fluids were extracted from Dr. Momita's body during her autopsy, and according to studies, a single man can only produce 10 to 15 grams of indicating that there could be at least 8 to 10 suspects in total, if not even more. Now, it was also later revealed that Sanjay Roy wasn't even supposed to be there during those hours. I mean, he was a civic volunteer assigned by the Kolkata police, so they knew what his schedule was supposed to be. So, what was he doing there during those hours? Now, somewhere between the late evening of August 8th and the early morning of August 9th, Sanjay Roy assisted a patient to one of the hospital's departments. Now, while this patient's relative was waiting for his loved one to get treated, this person allegedly tells Sanjay that they should have a few drinks, and he agreed. The two started drinking at the back of the hospital, where they also watched adult videos that were extremely graphic and disturbingly or alarmingly brutal. Less than an hour later, Sanjay Roy, now heavily intoxicated, was seen entering the building where Dr. Momita was. Kolkata police also noted the fact that Sanjay Roy was so intoxicated the night before that he still reeked of alcohol during his interrogation. And this is when the public started to have even more questions. It became even more unlikely that he did all of that on his own when he was that drunk. There are a lot of theories and speculations, but the one that is most widespread and seems to be the one believed by the majority of the public is that Sanjay Roy is only a scapegoat who was lured and framed to take all of the blame for this horrendous crime. It is said that a month before all of this occurred, Dr. Momita actually spoke out and protested against the unfair treatment experienced by interns and resident doctors at the hospital. It is suspected that she collected evidence against the illegal things happening within this medical facility's walls, and she threatened to expose these things, and that's why she was silenced. Now, for the people living in the area, it is said to be no secret that a lot of corruption is happening in this government funded facility. There have been numerous rumors of the hospital being involved in drug trafficking as well as organ trafficking. And some speculate that Dr. Momita was extremely close to putting all of the pieces together. Basically, it is theorized that she was targeted for threatening to expose the hospital, its principal, and the politicians tied to them, all allegedly making money from these illegal transactions. Now, based on these popular theories and posts by netizens, it is believed by many that the only goal was to kill Dr. Momita. But that would raise a lot of speculations, especially because she was a kind woman who was well liked in her community and her workplace. People would, of course, wonder why was she so they gang her and tortured her to make it seem like this crime was motivated. There are speculations that this was all planned, and there are even rumors suggesting that Dr. Momita did not find that quiet spot on her own and was instead suggested by one of her colleagues who could also be part of this plot. Now, some also speculate that the patient's relative who had drinks with Sanjay may also be involved and got him extremely intoxicated, and that after other perpetrators took turns in sexually assaulting Dr. Momita, Sanjay was then told to do it last. But one thing is for sure, Sanjay Roy, whether he was the mastermind or not, is not innocent. The police found scratches on his face and arms, and upon being tested against the skin and blood found underneath Dr. Momita's fingernails, it was a match. And since they already got one of the culprits, it should be easier to solve this case and identify the others. However, Sanjay Roy is simply not cooperating. He's not denying the allegations anymore, but he isn't admitting his guilt either. And upon being questioned, he would only say, "Just hang me if you want." Now, allegedly, Dr. Momita's car was also vandalized after this incident, and the evidence that she collected, which were inside the vehicle, were then taken and destroyed. And there are also rumors that high profile people from the hospital with strong political connections left India as soon as Dr. Momita's body was discovered. Now, these included doctors, students, and interns. And there are also speculations of a female intern being involved in the torture. Now, this female intern is said to be the girlfriend of one of the. And while there are names out there floating around, I won't be including any of those names on this video just yet because as of now, these are all speculations. And I don't want to expose anyone that has nothing to do with this. I don't want to falsely accuse anyone. That's what I'm trying to say. Also, there is a deep, deep rabbit hole of suspicious events that transpired in the RG Car Hospital, a lot of sketchy deaths that were made to look like suicides. However, I will not be talking about those cases in this video, and I won't really be going into further detail about the alleged illegal activity in the hospital, as I want this video to focus on Dr. Momita and her alone. Now, anyway, since this case is being handled so poorly by the Kolkata police, the Central Bureau of Investigation, or the CBI, is now taking over the case. And due to what information is being released and what is being kept hidden, the public now has even more questions. Is the hospital involved? Why were they trying to cover this up as a suicide? And most importantly, who are they trying to protect? Thousands of people have joined numerous prayer vigils and peaceful protests headed by both male and female doctors. And while this was all happening, the hospital was getting busy with renovations. They all of a sudden started to renovate the wing where Dr. Momita was found, and included in these renovations was that very room, the crime scene. Now, one of these protests turned into complete chaos when an estimated 2,000 men entered and ransacked the RG Car Hospital, damaging furniture, supplies, and even the CCTVs. And during this whole ordeal, people were inside, so a lot of doctors, nurses, medical staff, and patients also got injured. Now, you might be wondering, were these men outraged and fighting to get justice for the slain doctor? And honestly, that does not seem to be the case at all, as all of the protests that had been conducted so far were all peaceful and headed by medical professionals who only seek answers to their questions and justice for their fallen colleague. And according to eyewitnesses, these men came in military trucks, and it seemed as if Kolkata police even made way for them to be able to enter the premises instead of making an attempt to block their entry. So that seems really sketchy. So now, a majority of the public is beginning to believe that this was arranged by someone who wants to get rid of evidence. But again, all of this, everything that I have said so far, is alleged, except for Sanjay Roy. These are all speculations, and we still really don't know what actually happened, why it had to happen, and who are the parties involved. As of filming this, the CBI have 30 suspects in custody who are continuously being questioned and investigated. Dr. Mumita's grieving parents have also provided a list of doctors and interns that were closely working with their only child. Let that sink in. This was their only child. And she was and disrespected in the most vile way possible. And that is all the information that I have on Dr. Moumita Debnath's case as of the moment. I will be making a follow up video on this as soon as we get more information. And actually, I might upload another video on a different day to check out some of the other widely believed theories as well. But the one that I talked about today is definitely the one that is mostly believed by the majority of the public. Now, please give this video a thumbs up or leave a comment, say a little prayer to Dr. Momita, because giving this video a thumbs up, leaving a comment or sharing this to anyone you know will really help this content to get pushed out so more people can see it and learn about this case. I just really want to get her story out there, because who knows, this might help in finally solving this case and getting justice for her if this adds more pressure to the police. Thank you so much for listening to Dr. Momita's story, and I will see you guys on my next video.